Lewis Hamilton's Baku win disappeared not because of the antics of Sebastian Vettel, but because the cockpit surround on his Mercedes came adrift. Very unusual. Lewis, quite bravely, I thought, tried to relocate it at something like 200 miles an hour on the straight, but in the end he had to stop for replacement, even though he kept saying, it's okay, it's okay. For more on this, let's turn again to Craig Scarborough, who happens to have, with us here in the studio, a cockpit surround.
Cockpit surround, standard part almost on every Formula One car. This one is off of a 2014 Caterham, very kindly lent to me by Kevin Thomas, who has one in private hands.
And nothing's changed since then, right, dimensionally?
Dimensionally, this is all fixed by the rules, so as I say, most of the teams run something that's almost identical. So what you have is this foam, which is on the inside, it's called Confor foam. Very clever impact resistance, very soft, very plush when you push it gently, but when you have a big impact, it absorbs the load and then rebounds very slowly, which is obviously what you want in an accident when your head hits the surround. We saw Lewis trying to put it back in. It looked very squidgy and squeezy. It's actually carbon fibre on the outside, but only like 2 layers of Kevlar, so it is very flexible, which obviously allows the helmet to sort of penetrate the carbon fibre and the foam to work. So what you have is this fits into the cockpit surround. At the front, it connects, as you can see here, with a couple of cam lock fasteners, and these are the ones that the drivers will unclip when they get out the car, and Alonso will lob his one as far away from the car as humanly possible. But what happened with Lewis's surround wasn't these front fastenings. If we just twist this round and just have a look at the back of the headrest, you have these 2 sort of lugs which are moulded in, and they mate into matching lugs in the back of the cockpit. And that supports this. Obviously, the driver can't get to a fastening behind their head to get out the cockpit quickly. So you only have the front and then these sort of temporary attachments at the back. Now, the foam that's inside this is temperature sensitive. In fact, there's 2 specs of foam that you have to use. If the temperature is below 30 degrees, they have a pink foam. Above 30, they have to use this blue foam, which is obviously...
And the FIA decide that.
And they will state that before the race. You actually see it on the timing screens. Blue foam must be used, which a lot of people get very confused about. And what happens is this gets very warm, and as it gets warmer, it gets softer. And I think what happened potentially with Hamilton's is obviously during the race, with the high ambient temperatures, the heat coming off of the car, it got, the foam gets soft, as it does on all of the cars. But we never take these headrests out of the car during the race normally, but the red flag, Hamilton took his one out, and obviously when it went back in, the front fastenings were secure, but these ones obviously weren't quite tight enough. And when you get the lift from the low pressure air above the driver, this was getting sucked out of the cockpit, and despite his efforts to mate these back in, it wasn't happening, so that he had to come into the pits and have one which was just at ambient temperature, probably a little bit firmer, and then when that just clicked in straight away, he had no more problems through to the end of the race. So very unusual.
We can assume that if that situation occurs again, that probably they'll put a cold...
They'll probably put the spare one in, knowing that it's only ambient temperature rather than a...
The question, of course, which has no answer, is why this only happened for Lewis, because I imagine all the drivers got out of their cars at the red flag.
Yes, it's just one of those little things. You saw, the carbon was particularly flexible on the Mercedes. I don't think that's a safety issue. Maybe that and the heat, but it's just one of those random things. So the actual
carbon isn't subject to a specific rule?
There is a specific layup. So the FIA, just like they do with the vanity panel on the front of the car, say that it's a certain weight of carbon fibre or Kevlar, which has got a bit more give in it, has to be used for the surrounding parts, so that the helmet can penetrate the carbon and get to the foam, and the foam to do its job.
But within that, you suspect there's some differences from team to team in terms of the flexibility.
This one, as you can see, is quite firm. You saw Hamilton grabbing this area.
This is an Ericsson Caterham.
Yeah, so this is a 2014 Caterham. Obviously, it's a safety critical piece of the car. It saves lives. It's been on the car since sort of '96. And actually saved Jos Verstappen's life that year in the big Spa accident that he had. They actually think that he probably wouldn't have survived that accident. We wouldn't have Max Verstappen without one of these on the cars, which is a surprising thought, really.
Yeah, it's a great bit of kit.